Hi everybody, super happy I could come join you today. So just a quick question so I know who I'm talking to. Who in here is a game developer or wants to make a game? Okay, quite a lot of people, good. Then I'm in the right place. So today is about community-based game development. My name is, give me 1 sec. Now. My name is Philomena Schwab. I'm the co-founder of a small indie studio from Zurich, which is called Fawn Studio, and the vice president of the Swiss Game Developers Association. This is our little studio. We founded it 2 years ago. It's not that little anymore. It's surprising how many new people we found in the last 2 years who joined us. And I essentially founded the studio together with my business partner, who is the guy standing right behind me with the beard. And it basically started that both of us had a game. I had made a game as a university project, which is this one. It's called Niche, a genetic survival game. And I basically made this game because I couldn't decide if I want to study biology or game design. And I just decided for game design, but made a deal with myself that my final thesis at the university would be a game about biology. So there you go. And my business partner had been working for about 4 years as a hobby project while having a full-time job as a programmer on his game, which is called Nimbatus the Space Drone Constructor. And then we met at an event exactly like this, where he was actually presenting his game, and I thought it was so cool and talked to him about it, and we made a deal that he would help me finish my game, and then I would help him finish his game. So he helped me finish my game. It was released in 2017, and right now I'm helping him finish his game. It was released on Steam Early Access a couple of months ago in October, and now we're still working on it. A bit of my background and why I'm giving this presentation. I wrote my master thesis at the Zurich University of Arts about community building for games. The context of that was that I had just finished the prototype in the bachelor, and I kind of didn't know at all how I would actually go about selling this game because I had no experience in marketing. So I thought I would go back to school and involve myself further in marketing techniques, and the one that was especially interesting to me was community building. So, community-based, you say. You have a game, but why should you try that? Why should you get there? Why should you focus on building a community around it? Well, there's a couple of reasons for that. First of all, it is a lot of fun. Maybe some of you are now working on a prototype, and it sometimes gets very hard when you have that one bug and you just don't want to fix it, and you have a way better idea. So you could just start over and do that other game, because that's what I have done continuously, starting a project and having a better idea, starting on the other project, never ever finishing anything. And this only stopped once I actually showed my game to people, and they actually got interested in it and said, hey, when are you going to release the next update for it? And that really kept me going and helped me also to overcome this really, really tough patches in the development work. Then, of course, it helps you a lot because it gives you feedback constantly, and you can iterate and make your game better. There's not even really any time that is too early to show it to people and test it, so you can start playtesting right away. Grab some people here, show it to them. And of course, if you have a community, you can also try doing things with money. For example, both of our projects raised $75,000 on Kickstarter, which was essential, especially in the beginning where we didn't have any money to actually work on the project and pay ourselves a little bit. So the first game was released in late 2017 and has now sold around, so they are both premium games for desktop, so PC, Mac and Linux, no consoles, at least yet, no mobile. And we basically self-published them, so we just basically made the game and released it. And the first one sold around 120,000 copies, and the other one that was released in October is now at 30,000 copies. And I'm sure that at least half of this success is thanks to the people who supported us in the community and also helped us push the marketing, which I will tell you a bit about later. So if you're convinced now, so yeah, that sounds actually pretty decent, the question is, how do you actually get there? And my first recommendation here is your game needs hooks. It's very, very difficult if you have a game that is maybe a lot of fun to play, but people need to play it first in order to understand that. That's very hard to market a game like this. With Niche, we had a couple of hooks. For example, that it was about genetics. So people who were interested in genetics knew, okay, maybe I'm interested in this game. It has some cute animals, so people who like animals come in and look at it. And at the time we were in development, there were not so many survival games around. There were already a couple, but not so many. I mean, now this is not, this wouldn't be a hook anymore probably because there are so many survival games, but at the point the genre was also a reason for people to start looking at it. Then the next question is what your game has to offer. It needs to be either better than similar games or be very new, special, unique, innovative in some way. And I think option B is usually the easier way to go. Of course, you can also combine two new genres together. Just find something that is very interesting to your game. And who is your game for? You need to know what your target group actually wants. My teachers were talking all the time about who are you actually making this game for? Is it for girls? Is it for boys? How old are they? And I actually had no idea. My favorite approach in this is usually just being my own target group, because I think if you are not a big company that has a lot of data, it's probably easiest to just make a game you would really like to play. And maybe some friends you know have similar interests as you would really like to play, than doing a huge research and constantly inviting people of the age group to play tests if they like that feature or not. But you can do that too. It's just quite a bit of work. And a great way to find out who actually likes your game is showing it at events or at meetups like this. You can start locally. I'm sure there are some dev meetups like this where you can like talk and play, right? Yeah. You can show it and get some feedback on it, and then maybe at some point also try to travel around a little bit. For me, that helped a lot, because at the beginning, I thought my usual players would probably look like this, like girls around 8 or maybe 10, because the graphics were very cute. And then I was very happy to find out that there were also other people who liked the game, because I thought I would have to make a game that is very basic and very easily understandable also for kids. And then at this point, where I really met a lot of adult people who were into the concept, I thought, okay, now I'm going all in with the science stuff. I'm doing sexual chromosomes and whatever, and I can make it pretty complex. Of course, still trying to still keep it understandable also for children, but really also like setting the level higher for the science aspect. So then, if your game is interesting and you know actually who you would like to pitch to, where do you find people? Of course, events, as I just said. And when you go there, please do me one favor and bring a sheet of paper, whatever, a little book where people can put their contact information, because this will be essential for you at the point where the game actually is coming out. And or at least I used to go to a lot of events, and only like 10 or 20% of the people actually do this. And I'm wondering why. You can totally ask people to put their email address there if they want to have further information. It's not a crime. Usually they actually enjoy it. And then you can send them a little follow-up mail that you said you enjoyed meeting them. It's really good. Do it. You can use services like MailChimp or other ones. In the beginning, they are free. There are also some that are completely free. Look around a little bit. You can also reach out to similar communities, because a lot of communities have already been built and you can just tap into that. For example, with Niche, there was a children's book series that is called Warrior Cats. And I read the books and I thought, yeah, it actually has some similarities. Niche also took a little bit of inspiration from the books, and then I just wrote the author and asked her if she could maybe give me a shout out or whatever, and she actually did. She did like 2 or 3 Facebook posts, and suddenly I had a couple hundred teenage girls who were super interested in my game, which was very nice. And yes, of course, as you do, post on social media, look at different sites, look what fits you best, try out different things. You don't need to have all of them, but try to figure out what fits best for you. Another way to find people is if they are already playing your game. With Niche, at the beginning, we had a browser version. So you could just play the game in the browser, and it spread a little bit across different communities, like animal and game communities. And then we basically just had in the browser version, you could click if you were interested and sign up for the newsletter, so you can bring in people from there. And with Nimbatus, we had a thing where if you wanted to download the demo for the game, you could enter your email address, and then you would get an email with the link where you could download the game, which was great. During the Kickstarter for that game, that helped us build up around 50,000 people on the newsletter, which we could then write to and say, hey, we have a new stretch goal. We are only 3 days away from the campaign's end. Please support us. So that was very useful. Or you could even team up with other developers. So people who are also making, it's a point-and-click adventure, your game. People, okay. So other people who are making similar games, this is what we did also with Niche. I just reached out to a lot of people who are also making games about nature. And then we put up a portfolio site together and basically all advertised that people who like games related to nature should go there. And we had quite a bit of exposure thanks to that. Also, two of these people were running a Kickstarter at the same time as us. So it was great. We could just tell each other's backers to also go back the other project. You can really build up some really nice synergies with collectives like that. So now that you have found some people, you have those 300 teenage girls who really want to talk with each other about the game and make suggestions, where do you actually do that? And there's basically one big rule for me here, and that is that in a community hub, it's not about this. It's not about you, blah, 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 this is my game, look at this cool new picture, blah. It's about the people talking about your game, but not with you, or also with you, but mostly with each other, so they can form bonds, and it's not just you talking about how cool your game is, but people really sharing information about the game, telling each other why they like it, what other things they like, and forming friendships, basically. So therefore, not very well suited as a hub is basically just everything where you put content out and people don't really have a lot of freedom to interact. I mean, of course, you can have YouTube and people can interact with the comments, but it's very hard for them to start a conversation themselves and involve other people in the conversation if they can only do it in the comments of a video. Places that I would recommend are, for example, these. Who of you is using Discord these days? Yes, a lot of people. So I think currently the easiest thing you can do is just set up a Discord and invite people there, because everybody is always online on Discord anyways. But then I always wonder, how long do we have Discord now? What is it, a year or so? And how long will it be around? You never really know with any of those things. You never really know how long will there be Facebook groups, how long will there be Reddit. And that is why, in the end, we decided to do our own forums for the only reason, basically, that if people sign up there, you have their email address, and for some reason, if you decide to move, you can email them and invite them again. But in the beginning, what we did for Niche was a Facebook group, which has the really big benefit, as also Discord has, that people are online anyways and see what you are posting, compared to a forum where they actually have to come to your forum page every day to check what new things you posted. So you automatically have a lot more active people on a Discord or on a Facebook. And with Nimbatus, the first thing we did was a subreddit. It really depends on your game, on the people that play your game, what platform do they like. For example, with Nimbatus, they really don't use Facebook at all. And with Niche, nobody has a Reddit account, so it was pretty obvious where the community should start. So once you have those teenage people in a group and they're chatting with each other, or whatever community your game has, how do you handle them? And I think at the start, you have the very big benefit that there won't be so many people. Maybe at the beginning it's only 5 people or 10 people, and that's totally fine, because that is the perfect time to form your backbone. This is the time where you can really talk to all the people and establish a tone, how you want people to talk with each other, and rules. You can show people how they can reach you, and you can show people that you're actually a human, because players sometimes really like to forget that game developers are actually humans. If you go read through some Steam reviews, you can clearly see people don't really think about the developers' feelings sometimes. But here you have the chance to show people that you're a human and that you're a nice human, hopefully. So this is what it will look like at the beginning. This is you, and this is your hub, and this is the couple of people that are hanging around. And as I said, now you have really time to get to know them and maybe also to make friends with them. And most importantly, they also have time to make friends with each other. At the beginning, it's not even that good if you have like 1,000 people on day one, because then people don't interact with the same person very often, and they have less of a chance to form friendships than if it's just 10 people at the very beginning. It's just easier because you talk to the same people over and over. And this will be very useful, because as your game grows and as your community grows, there will be more community hubs popping up everywhere, because people say, hey, can't you open a subreddit? We want to chat on Reddit about the game. Or also for both our games, Discords, people just opened them. And then we were kind of also expected to be around a little bit and chat with them there. And at some point, it becomes impossible to handle, so you will need to find moderators who help you with it. And then again, it's important to teach them how they can reach you, what the rules are. And if your moderators really understand what you want, then usually that helps a lot, that the whole community will have a good tone. So now that you have maybe a couple of 100 people in your Discord, in your subreddit, whatever, what do you do? One thing you can do, for example, is ask them to help you localize the game. This is what we did with Niche. The community basically localized the game to 8 languages. We just had a Google spreadsheet, and some people we thought are trustworthy, and they just got at it and translated it to 8 languages within a couple of weeks, which is very nice because it saves you the cost of translation. It's pretty fast, and it's very cool because people know the context of the game, because with translation firms you sometimes have the problem that they try to translate but they don't really know what's going on in the game. But of course it's also good if you maybe have someone proofread everything again, because then again the community members are probably more error prone in spelling than a translation agency. You can ask them to create art for your game, which is very cool. So this is some art from people they did for Niche. We could fill up all walls in our office with art from Niche. It's very funny. It, again, very much depends on what kind of game you're making. So with Niche, we probably get like 5 fan arts or so every day. Not so with Nimbatus, because Nimbatus people are probably just not really drawing a lot. But with Nimbatus, we, for example, do a lot of contests. So in Nimbatus, in the second game, you build drones out of many small pieces, and then you send them on missions. And then we always do like contests. You have to build the coolest dragon, or you have to build drones that can walk down there. And then the coolest one get a free Steam key or a little goodie, and then we can use them to post on social media, which is nice. And usually they make cooler stuff than us, so that's nice, because that will then increase the reach again if we post cool stuff. Another option would, for example, be to run a Patreon. That would probably be something for you. We don't do it yet, we're thinking about it, but if you want to check out, do you know how Patreon works actually? Good. So if you want 2 very good examples for game Patreons, check out Ooblets and Forager. For us, Kickstarter was a thing. It's funny that both Kickstarters raised about the same amount, even though they were completely different from each other. With the Niche Kickstarter, we had a lot of focus also on science sides, so a lot of science-related sites actually wrote about the game. And I think a lot of people backed the Kickstarter, even though they will never play the game. Because they thought, oh, yeah, it's nice that somebody makes a game about population genetics, and then people learn more about the topic. When you're maybe, for example, a researcher, you want more people to learn about the topic that you're researching, even though you're not a gamer yourself. And because that worked so well, we actually incorporated the whole Kickstarter thing into our game development now. So also for the third game, when we have an idea, we will work on it for maybe half a year or maximum a year, then run a Kickstarter to see if we also have the right angle with the marketing, grow the community, and then Steam Early Access, and then Steam Full Release. Yeah, I just told you about the niche science sites already. And you can also ask your community for marketing support. What we did with Niche is prior to the launch, I think, so prior to, we had released on Early Access in September 2016 and then expanded the game. And then we had sold around 30,000 or so copies during the Early Access. And we told our community, if we don't ship 50,000 units with the full launch, there will be no more updates. Because then the game would not have been profitable for us. And then we would have had to stop and make something different. And they were, what? No more free updates, because they were like during the whole year of Early Access, they were super used to getting new content every day, and it sounded unbelievable to them that this would now suddenly stop. So we said, yeah, you can do something about it, that it doesn't stop. And we gave them a little list of things they can do to help with the launch. And for the first time, they started to understand that, if these people make money, that means we get more updates. So this was kind of related, game development and money and what the game is. And that was a really nice time, because people really started to think about and come up with strategies, what they can actually do to support. And we told them they should just write to their favorite YouTubers, and add tags on Steam, and write to their favorite press site, etc., write a review. And they also had some more ideas. They wrote to museums, if they maybe could become a supporter, and so on. And that really helped a lot. So you can see, this was the Early Access launch, the first thing. And the second thing then was the full launch. And I'm fully convinced that this spike would not even be half as big if the people were not pushing so much. Because we had a lot of big YouTubers and streamers play the game, and their reason was always, yeah, because a lot of my viewers told me I should totally play this game. I was like, our community realized how they would be able to get more updates here. So this is basically the story of how to build a community. Also some tips and just what you should consider when you are doing that, and also maybe you have a game that is released already, what do you do with it now? I don't know, have you ever heard of a sales funnel? If not, then you should maybe look into it. It basically describes, and it's very important for games as well, in which state your customer is. Maybe he or she has never heard about the game, or maybe they're following the game but have not bought it yet, or they are a player, or they are a fan. And in each state, you should basically think about what you are trying to do right now. So, is it maybe that, for example, before a game launch, you want to have as many people who are unaware as possible to become followers? Because, for example, now with Nimbatus, we are now in the Early Access. And for us, it's right now not important at all that people buy the game. We would actually prefer if they hear about it and they just wishlist it and wait until the full launch, because then we can get a big spike again. So we're not trying to convert them from unaware into player right now, but from unaware into follower, so that when the launch day comes, we can convert them from follower to player. And with Niche, we're basically just working on mostly making players our fans, so hopefully they will also buy the next games we make and stay with us and give us good feedback. And this is a problem probably not for now, but for the future, because at latest, when you release your second game, it will become impossible to manage all the different hubs, because yeah, maybe you have a Steam forum for your game, but then you also release it on GOG and on console, and then people don't really come to the Steam forum, so you also need to have another place. And maybe you want to have your players from your different games interact with each other, and then it kind of gets more complex. And that's the reason for us, again, why we started doing the whole forum thing. And that was a whole story and problem on its own, because how do you actually manage to bring people to come to your forums and check every day what is going on? And then, as it is with your other hubs, you always basically just need to think of why should people come here instead of the other places? And we basically said, yeah, if you want to be involved at all in how the game develops. So we had like so many suggestions, I could really not keep up. I had like emails that were like really this long. And people expected me to read all of their this long emails and reply to them, and it was impossible. And basically then the reply always just was, yeah, come to our forums, post your ideas in the feature recommendations, and we look at the recommendations who get the most votes, and then people discuss with each other what they want, and that was actually pretty satisfying for them to just know that they had a way to see their things added into the game, even without me reading their emails that are this long. So yes, I hope you got a little bit of input, and I wish you best of luck with building your own communities.